everyone, to today's online info session about the Education Assistant Diploma program at Ashton College. I'm Davina from the marketing team, and today I'm joined by Jennifer O'Brien, one of our dedicated and passionate faculty members at Ashton College. We'll cover various topics such as her career, the Education Assistant Diploma program, employment opportunities after graduation, and more. Okay, with that being said, let's get started. Welcome, Jennifer, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Perfect. Let's start with my first question for you right away. So can you give us a short breakdown of what working as an education assistant involves?
So basically, when you're working as an educational assistant, you're supporting the students with a variety of disabilities in the mainstream or specialized classrooms. So this can be anywhere from a junior kindergarten or an early entry program all the way up through grade 12. So some of the roles, they're more behavioral in nature, supporting students with things like regulation, and other roles would be a little bit more academic in nature, especially in some of those higher grades. So it's very diverse, but basically it's a student first career. Years ago, I think there was a term that was more of a teacher assistant, and that over the years has shifted into an educational assistant, which really focuses on the needs of the children.
That's great to know. I didn't know that fact. Yeah, wonderful. That definitely sounds like super important work. Perfect. Then my second question for you is, can you tell us a little bit about your career, educational background, and why you chose this career?
So I started my career, I got my Bachelor of Education degree, and when I was a little bit younger, I was teaching mainly in, early primary, kindergarten, grade 1. I had 2 sons, and then after that, I went back and I did my master's degree in educational leadership and decided to try the high school level. I really found great challenge with that and working with students in more of an outreach setting in sort of a supportive role. And then as my career progressed, I became more involved with the educational assistant side of student services in schools. And right now I work in kind of a supervisory role with helping educational assistants support programming. So a lot of my day looks like helping to create and support individual programs for some of our very severe students. I really was interested in this field because my oldest son was diagnosed with autism. And I really was struggling to get some supports in place for him. And the more I learned about different disabilities and what we can do to support children in our school system, just inspired me to work closely with educational assistants because they're the ones that we really help make those connections and just individualize programming and support for those particular kids. So that was really what sparked my interest and my passion for this field.
That's definitely very inspiring. And yeah, you can tell that you have that personal connection to the field too. Really great and really important. Then my next question for you is, can you tell me a little bit about the Education Assistant Diploma program here at Ashton?
It's incredibly flexible. I think the students that I've met in the program have all really noted that. Many of them are actually working in the field, but they may not actually have the diploma or the certificate in place, but they're getting the real world work experience right now. And because the program offers a combination of pre-recorded sessions and then live sessions, it's a really great flexible way for people to learn while they may be working or caring for children. I think that's one of my favorite things about the program. And it's accessible, and the topics that Ashton offers, they're so relevant and so interesting, and they focus on those discussion pieces that are so relevant right now, like how to support children with the increasingly complex classes that we have now, right? Our work is becoming more complex, but Ashton is very in touch with those needs, and they touch on a lot of those topics. So I think those are some of the things that I really value most about the program.
That's great to hear. Yes, I think many of our students definitely also value the flexibility of the program and just the hands-on learning that basically you can really use in your career right away. Okay, perfect. Then number four, what is your favorite part of the program and what will students benefit from the most?
I think it's the ability to make connections, and many of the classes are smaller in nature. So it's the ability to actually have a discussion about what does this look like in the classroom. I always say it's kind of like driving a car. We can read about it, we can study it, we can watch other people do it, but at some point, it's nice to get behind the wheel yourself and to see what that really feels like. And I think for the students, they have those opportunities to speak with peers. They have the opportunity to speak with different facilitators and help translate the work into what does it look like on the ground right now in schools, and how can we stay relevant and informed and educated. So I think that's my favorite part of the program.
Definitely. Sounds super relevant and important. Okay. Then my next question for you is, how would you describe your teaching style?
I think I'm flexible. I mean, I've been a teacher since I was very young. I graduated at 22 years old. I'm organized by nature. I love organization. So I think for me, I really enjoy being organized. I have prepared slides. But I think again, we take those moments to work during the course of the evening classes, have an opportunity to connect and sort of have a balance of the work and the discussion, because I think that's very important. And I love project-based learning. I think giving students the opportunity to take a topic that is of interest to them and to create something personalized and then to be able to present it to the group. I think that's something I really enjoy as a facilitator because I learn from the students and we all can share that information, knowledge together. So I think that's one of, I don't know, one of my styles, I guess.
Very true. I think everybody can learn from each other, right? It's a great approach to have. Yes, I think that's good to know for prospective students, basically what your teaching style is. Perfect. Okay, then my next question for you is, what are your expectations of students in the program, and how much study time will students need to dedicate each week to be successful?
So just in my personal experience teaching, it was more of a condensed session. So we had 3 days a week, we had a 3 to 4 hour session. So it was a very big time commitment because, as we discussed, many of our students are also working full time or their parents and have very busy schedules. So when we had our 3 to 4 hour sessions, there was always an opportunity during the sessions to actually work. So many students on their own time, it would be an expectation that they would do the readings. If there was a project or an assignment, that they would work on that on their own time. But also 1 day a week, I have office hours where students can jump online if they had any questions or they needed any help with their project, and I'd be available to help. So it really depends on the course time frame, but there's certainly an expectation that you would be reading and keeping up on things like that on your own time. And again, any type of individual assignment would be done on your own time. We do actually we did a quiz each course, each class, sorry, and the students, if they chose to rewrite the quiz, would do that on their own time, but we would use the class time to write the quiz.
Okay, perfect. That's definitely great to know for prospective students, basically what they can expect in this area and how much time to commit. Perfect. So then, what would you say are some career options or typical next steps for students after they graduate from the program?
One of the most exciting things about being an educational assistant is the opportunity for work right now. I mean, really across our country, But certainly in BC, certainly here in Alberta where I am, there's quite a bit of opportunity for work in our school systems. Again, elementary, high school, but also with qualifications such as this, there's also the possibility for respite work. Respite is also very well respected and well needed right now, again, across Canada. There's also situations where people can work in daycare settings and after school programs. Because often when children have a significant disability, they require an additional support person to attend the daycare with them. So that's something I know that is also, for some of our educational assistants, a supplemental income piece. I know several educational assistants that work during the day, and then they do after-school programs as well during the work week. And it just boosts their income a little bit and gives them a little bit more experience working with students with disabilities.
Wow, that sounds like you have very many different options if you take that path. Perfect. Thank you. Then, so in your opinion, what are the most essential skills or qualities needed to be successful in this field?
I think patience is important. Our patience is important, but I also think curiosity is important because we all know nobody knows everything. And again, our children are more complex than ever. So when we go into roles, sometimes it's intimidating because we might not have all the answers. We might not have worked with a student with a particular disability or challenge. But when we're curious and we're open to learning and finding new strategies, accessing different supports, different people that we can connect with to help us with those plans, then we're often really successful because it's a relationship-based career. When we have positive relationships with students, then we usually help them with that success. So I think the ability to be curious, the ability to be open-minded, patient, again, being a team player. We all know working in a school system can be tough at times. So we need to be able to work with our colleagues to help lighten the load and to, again, lean on each other and learn from each other. So I think really those are the most important qualities to have.
For sure, those definitely sound like the key qualities to have to be successful. Definitely patience and yeah, all that. That's great. So I know that's probably hard to say, but what is a typical day in the life of someone working as an education assistant?
So like we touched on it, it's really different. And I think for people that are interested in this field, it's really important to know where you think you'd like to work. Because having worked in a variety of settings, I've worked with adults, I've worked with small children, I've worked with teenagers. The environments and the work days are radically different. So for example, I have several colleagues that prefer a more academic role. They they love to work with the older students, helping them prepare for things like diploma exams. Here in our outreach high school, we have a lot of children that have a lot of stress and anxiety. For them, the mainstream high school is not always successful. So some of our educational assistants are just very supportive and they create small groups where they can help children with their academics. They may have an alternative space where they support them with getting their work done. In elementary schools, like we discussed, it can be a little bit more behavioral. You could be looking at children with speech and language supports, people that are using assistive technology. Some of our roles are even more medical. Right now, we have educational assistants helping with diabetic monitoring, tube feeding, changing students in wheelchairs. There's all kinds of medical pieces. So again, I think it's nice to look at your personality and where you think you really shine and your own strengths to know, oh, this is something I'd be really good at. I'm very good at managing behaviors and working with students who have challenging behaviors. I'm good at that. So I think that's an area where I'd like to work. And in most school districts, you are able to choose the category of your job based on medical needs, emotional behavioral, uh, academic. So it can look really different, but that's exciting too. And it's also exciting to know that throughout your career you can move. I know I've really enjoyed that. I like change. I've worked in really all of those different categories and I just keep learning. So again, I think that's another exciting piece of the field.
For sure. I think that would definitely be part of the appeal for many, right? Having that versatility and being able to not always just do the same thing, but kind of have every day look different and choose your field. That's perfect. Yes, so my next question for you is, what advice would you give to students who are new to the field?
Just keep learning. We always have a lot of educational assistant students coming in and doing their practicums. I've supervised lots of students over the years. And that's my advice to everyone is keep learning. Like if you've worked with one student with autism, you've worked with one student with autism, right? We know that every child is so different and every situation is so different. So it's really important to kind of make those moves and get experience working with children with different disabilities and learning about those. Professional development is so important. We never stop learning and learning from each other. We have just one example here in our school. We have one educational assistant she's very extraordinary at programming. It's a strength of hers, and actually she's currently going back to school to become a teacher because I think she's been given the feedback that she's just so good at programming. She's programming for children who are on individual programs who are not able to be successful in mainstream classrooms. But because of that, we're able to carve out some time for her to work with some of our other educational assistants and teachers to help give ideas and support programming. So I think just the ability to learn from each other, that again, every situation can be so different and there's different ways to handle things. There's different strategies and, just to keep being exposed to different grades and disabilities and keep learning.
Definitely. I think the willingness to keep learning, that's just a big key factor, I think, in so many industries, but definitely when working with people as well. Um, for sure. 100%. Okay, and second to last question from my side. What's your number one reason why students should choose a career as an education assistant, specifically through this program?
I think it's a wonderful career, especially for people who have children, who have families, who might have jobs. It's a flexible career. When you work as an educational assistant, you can arrive when the school bell rings at the beginning of the day, and you can end when the school bell rings at the end of the day. So if you have children, you don't need to get childcare arranged for your own children. You don't have to plan. You don't have to do things like parent-teacher interviews and a lot of those extra commitments that take up time on the evenings and the weekends. So for many of our educational assistants, they really enjoy that flexibility they have where they can be dedicated to their own families and their own children. Some people even like to work a second job because they have another interest. So I think it's a wonderfully flexible career. And with Ashton, they really understand that flexibility piece. I've had students say that they might not have been able to complete a project on time. Is there some flexibility in that? And the answer is yes, because we all have to be flexible, right? And we all get there and sometimes support looks different for different people. And we would say that for our students as well. But I think for Ashton, that's always been my mantra with students is we have to be flexible and we have to be supportive because life can be challenging sometimes and going to school is not always the only thing on our plates, right? So I think that's one of the things I love most about Ashton and the students seem just very inspired by the instructors, the topics, the programs, and they're very well prepared for the field.
100%. That's definitely great to hear. well, again, about the flexibility and all the different kinds Ashton implements that or shows that, but then also that it goes beyond graduating at Ashton, but that the career itself is also actually really flexible. So
Mhm.
I'm sure that's great to know for students or prospective students.
Mhm.
Perfect. My last question from my side is, what has changed the most in your field since you started?
Definitely classroom complexity. So again, I've been teaching, this is my 27th year, and I've worked in 4 different provinces. I've worked again across different grade levels, but I would say classroom complexity and size. So years ago, I've worked in fields where some of our children with the most significant disabilities were in a separate classroom, like a special education type of model. And I've worked in settings where it's more of an inclusive education model, and our children are in mainstream classrooms with support. So the model has really changed, but the complexities have increased. And it's not just children with disabilities. We have children with different mental health diagnosis, children who are living in poverty. We have children that are living with violence. We have all kinds of needs where teaching is no longer just about academics. It's really about creating a safe environment where all children can learn and they can grow. And teachers cannot do that alone. Educational assistants are essential to our schools, and they're often the heart, because for many of our teachers, they don't have the same time to make those individual connections as someone who's working in the role of an educational assistant with those particular children. So we're often the eyes and ears. We might know who didn't have a lunch. We might know who's come from a bad situation before the teacher does. So I think in my mind, it's the classroom complexity piece that I would really say has changed so much. And again, we're always learning new strategies. We're always looking for ways that we can, cast a wider net to help as many children as we can. Sometimes we are in the classroom because 2 or 3 children may have a severe disabilities code, but we may be able to name 6 that we're really concentrating on. And I think good educational assistants that I work with on the ground right now, that's what they're doing. They're looking for ways to cast that wide net so that they can be helpful and supportive, and again, create that positive and safe environment for our children. So it's important work, very, very important work.
That is definitely something that has shown throughout the interview with you, how important it is, and just some of the aspects that, I mean, I had no idea about, and I'm sure not everyone did that was listening. That's very great to know. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's it for my questions. But let's see if there are any audience questions from our attendees. So the first one is, are there any opportunities for hands-on experience, such as practicums or field placements? And what kind of support do students receive in finding those placements?
Yeah, so I know that the practicums are a very big part of the college program, which is wonderful. You get to go out and be placed in a classroom, and you are mentored by another educational assistant and often a classroom teacher. In my role here, we usually meet with our EAD students, and we talk about um, who the children are in the classroom that would be their primary focus, what their needs are, and what strategies the educational assistant who's currently working with them would be using. So you get the opportunity to basically shadow that person. You don't have to be in charge of anything, but we're shadowing and we're learning to see how the fit is, because I think that's so important. I think a practicum is essential because, like you said, we can read about situations and we can study different things, but it's really helpful to see how things work on the ground. you know um in my last course that I taught, we talked about challenging behaviors and behavior tracking, and we had some really great conversations with the EAs about their practicum and how they were tracking these behaviors, and then meeting with the teacher to discuss different things. So it's a great opportunity to make those connections. So yes, the practicum is a really valuable piece.
100%. That's definitely always such an important piece of it and such an important part of the whole program, especially at Ashton, because Ashton is so hands-on, right, and preparing you for the career right away. Another question is, how does the program support students who may not have prior experience working in education or with children with special needs?
Many of the courses focus on students with different disabilities and educating students about what behaviors might be a result of different disabilities and what are some things that we can do to help include those children, help them access things like social situations and academics and such. So I think Ashton does a really good job at identifying what is the knowledge base that educational assistants need right now. I mean, step one is we have to have a love for children and we have to have a passion for education. And after that, we can learn. We can learn, and the courses teach us that. So it's been, I think the content that Ashton focuses on is really relevant. You know, many people that enter this field, it's solely because they have a love for the school system, for a love of working with children with disabilities, and they start from there. You know, it's not necessarily a requirement that we have educational or real life experience. It's just we have that passion, we have that interest, and we want to make a difference. So this academic program will help us feel prepared to do so.
That's great to know, especially for prospective students maybe wondering about that. And yeah, so you can basically just get started and learn as you go. My next question, or the next question, is can you speak to how the program addresses inclusion and diversity, especially when it comes to working with students from various cultural or linguistic backgrounds?
That's a really important question because when I was talking earlier about classroom complexities, I should have mentioned EAL students. So English is an additional language. So that is a very big topic right now because that is another population that requires our support. Often it looks like, I know here in Alberta, in my school district where I'm working, we have educational assistants who focus on literacy. And much of their population are students who are new Canadians, and it's focusing on learning the English language to help support them. And at the high school level, often these students will require an extra year to graduate high school. We focus on taking 1 year of working on basic literacy and then getting into more of the academic rigor. So that's a really important question. And that is certainly something that most school districts are including under their roster of support with educational assistance. Inclusion and diversity is huge right now. And again, that's one of the pieces that Ashton focuses on is celebrating that diversity and how can we create these inclusive environments where everybody feels safe, everybody feels valued, everybody feels welcome. And that's certainly the hub of our work. That's the heart of our work, right? So absolutely, I say it's a very high priority for Ashton.
Awesome. So there don't seem to be any more audience questions right now. So thank you so much for everyone's participation and questions. So Jennifer, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share with us today?
I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak because I feel very passionate about this field of work. And I know as a mother, I know as a professional, the value of educational assistance. And on a personal level, I know of students who that's changed their life. Just having that positive adult who was there to support them, it's got them through. It's got them their high school diploma. It's gotten them through the day. So it is very, very important work. And again, I think some people feel intimidated about the knowledge of different disabilities or strategies, but again, that comes with time and it comes with learning, and it comes with, building our confidence in the field. But I know that this program helps students feel prepared for those first steps, and is very flexible and wonderful. So I would highly recommend the program and the field.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great chatting with you and helping prospective students learn more about this program and you as their potential instructor. It's always so valuable to hear from an expert in the field like you, with lots of practical experience and hands-on knowledge. So, and to all prospective students, if you're interested in the Education Assistant Diploma program, please learn more by scanning the QR code that will be screen shared in a minute. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.